Good morning, everybody. How's it going? You know what time it is. You know what it's all about. That's right. It's free agency primer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the final position that I have marked as a moderate need for the 2022 offseason, and that is free safety. So, a lot of moving parts with this position. If you take a look at the Seahawks right now, we do have Marquise Blair coming off two pretty big injuries, but you do have him under contract for the moment. And you have a few guys who are technically free agents but will be easy to bring back who are at least a little interesting, like Tanner Muse, Nigel Warrior, Josh Jones, who actually played pretty well against the Cardinals in Week 18. And then, of course, you do have the Quandre Diggs situation. But as of right now, those guys are all free agents. Most of them would be easy to bring back if you want to. I expect us to bring back at least one of them, but Diggs is a different story, right? Two straight Pro Bowls, and he's made it known that he wants to get paid. Now, it would not shock me if we did bring him back. He did just break his leg in a pretty gruesome injury, so it's certainly possible that the asking price comes down to a point that the Seahawks find it a little more palatable, but it's also possible that he goes somewhere else. He is a great player, and I don't think that even a team like this, even a team like these Seahawks, knowing what they think about players, knowing how they value certain things, I don't think they want to be paying all that money to safeties, knowing that they're not the best safeties in the league. Like when you had Jamal Adams, I'm sorry, when you have Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, you've got a really good tandem of safeties, don't get me wrong, but are either of those guys top five safeties at the moment? I don't know. Not after Quandre broke his foot, or excuse me, leg. Not after Jamal Adams keeps injured his shoulder, and some people are wondering if that's going to be a permanent issue for him. When you had Earl and Cam, you had hands down the best safety tandem in the league at that time. So it wouldn't surprise me if he left, and if he does leave, we need a solution. And because I'm balking at Diggs due to money, we're really looking to find somebody who is going to be competent for a cheaper rate than what Diggs is looking to get. So, in light of the fact that we're paying all that money to Jamal Adams, we need to cut costs at free safety if we're going to go a different direction than Diggs. So keep that in mind going forward. What that means is that Honey Badger is out. Spotrac thinks he's going to get 3 years, $45 million, so basically $15 million a year. If you're going to give Honey Badger $15 million a year, just re-sign Diggs. You know he can play great for you. You know how to use him. Just do that. Same for Marcus Williams of the Saints. Spotrac says 5 years, $75 million, so $15 million a year. Don't bother. Just re-sign Diggs at this point. That's fine. Anthony Harris of the Eagles, same thing. 5 years, $70 million according to Spotrac. Even if they're way off, this is still going to be a $10 million a year player. If you're looking at a safety and he wants $10 million a year or more, then just go get Diggs for about that much. Honestly, I would rather pay Diggs maybe $11 million a year than somebody like an Anthony Harris 14, or even 10 on with Anthony Harris, because we don't know. We don't know how well he'll fit in this defense. We don't know how well he'll do. We don't know how the fit is going to be, especially that first year. With Diggs, you know, because he's been here for a while. So those guys are out. Not really considering them unless the cost comes way down. So let's talk about some guys that are a little more palatable. First guy is going to be Marcus Maye of the Jets, and he's appealing in part because he has a decent amount of experience playing with Jamal Adams. Got a good draft pedigree. He was the second round pick in 2017 of the Jets, and he's had some pretty good seasons with them. He has 6 interceptions in his career. He's had a couple seasons cut short by injury. He only played 6 games in 2018 and 2021, but he's been a generally decent all-around player. 2020, he had almost 90 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 interceptions. Kind of a breakout year for him, 11 pass deflections. His coverage numbers have been really good in terms of completion percentage allowed. He had that one 2019 year where he gave up 104 QB rating, but other than that, he's been pretty solid. 2021, I'm sorry, excuse me. And Spotrac estimates that because 2021 didn't go that well for him, he's only going to be looking for a 1-year prove-it deal. Spotrac says 7.4 million. The safety market is a little bit saturated right now with quality guys, so it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up something with like 1 year, 6 million, where he tries to prove he's worth a big deal next year. And PFF, as for Marcus Maye on Pro Football Focus, 2021 was not good for him. He had a 56, but 2020, pretty good. 83. Really good, actually. 2020 was a little bit of a coming out party, excuse me. 2019 also really good on PFF. So this is a really good guy who's had a little bit of a rough go lately, and maybe you can capitalize on that by getting good value. The next guy that I like, and this would be a cross your fingers and hope he has one more good year in the bank, and hope that he's willing to play for cheap because of his age, which is always dicey, but Devin McCourty of the Patriots, he played a full season in 2021 despite being 34, so it seems like there's a decent amount of life left in him, and he actually had a very nice season for the Patriots. His coverage numbers were great. He had 3 interceptions, 60 tackles. I think he was a borderline Pro Bowler in terms of the quality of his play. He allowed 9 completions across 17 games. I know he's playing safety, but that's still incredible. Much better than it had been in previous years even. And over the last 3 years in particular, his coverage numbers are solid in terms of what he's allowing. Not a whole lot. He had the 2020, he did give up 3 touchdowns, but generally speaking, this has been a very competent cover safety. And PFF generally reflects that. They gave him a solid 76 grade for 2021. If you go back a little bit, you'll find less impressive grades like the 65 in 2020. 2019, though, really good, 81. I think the 2019 Patriots had the number 1 defense in the league, and he was a big reason why. So Devin McCourty, 89 almost in 2018, by the way. I don't know how much money he would want to leave the Patriots, but if the Patriots decide to let him go because they don't have a ton of money because they spent all their money last offseason, or if they're just trying to reboot and get younger, I would call up Devin McCourty and see if he wants to play one more year alongside Jamal Adams in Seattle, and hopefully you can get that done for under his actual market value because he's old. Not going to be a huge market out there for a guy who's about to turn 35, I don't think. So maybe you get him for like 1 year, $5 million. I don't know. But I would rather have a 1 year, $5 million cap hit for 2022 for McCourty compared to something like Diggs where you might have a $5 million cap hit in 2022 as well, but then it escalates to 10 and then 15. It's just about not having that long-term commitment. And also, if you manage to get McCourty for cheaper, like I said, 1 year, $5 million, 1 year, $4 million even, because of that age, it gives you a chance to have a better look at Marquise Blair so you can decide if maybe he's the guy you're going to trust going forward. So McCourty, to me, is kind of my dream, but that dream also includes him being willing to play for less than his current level of play earned, right? He needs to be willing to play for less money than he could probably get on the open market from a really bad team. Like maybe a team like the Jaguars would give him $10 million. I don't know. It's really hard to tell with these safeties sometimes. Okay, next name we're going to take a look at here is Rodney McLeod. He's about to turn 32. Had a pretty long, pretty successful career, most recently in Philadelphia. Won a Super Bowl with Philly back in 2017. And he is a little bit of an age concern, little bit of an injury concern. He's missed a lot of games over the last 4 years. Not a huge playmaker or anything like that. He's got 5 interceptions over the last 3 seasons combined. He's missed 7 games combined over the last 2 years alone. But he's good enough, right? He's somebody who, because of his age, because of the injuries, because of missing games, etc., maybe you could get him on a 1 year, $3 million deal. He only made $12.3 million in 2021, and he's just getting older, and he didn't go over the top in 2021 to earn any extra money. So you might be able to get him for like $3 million, $3.5 million, and then you can see what's up with Blair. His PFF grade for 2021 was adequate, about a 64. 2020 was solid, 71 almost. 2019 adequate again, 66. 2018 76. So this guy, he's solid. Nothing amazing, nothing crazy good, but I think he could hold the fort down for a reasonable price. So Rodney McLeod, I would be cool with bringing him in to replace Diggs for a season. And the final guy we're going to take a look at here is mostly a consideration because of his connection to Desai, although he's not a bad player in his own right, Tashawn Gibson. Former Pro Bowler, although that was a long time ago. He spent the last 2 years in Chicago along with Desai. Had 4 interceptions, 10 pass deflections, well over 100 tackles. Generally been pretty good, not amazing or anything. He's been around the league. He spent some time in Cleveland to start his career, Jacksonville, Houston. He was actually part of that really good Jacksonville defense in 2017, Saxonville. But this is a guy who's mostly interesting because he's familiar with Desai more than it is his play. His play is good, and you might be able to get him at a little bit of a discount. He did miss 5 games in 2021. His PFF grade for 2021 was also pretty bad, 54 about, but the year before that, 68 almost, pretty good. Year before that, 60. But the year before that, hey, 71 again. All right, so those would be the main guys that I'm taking a look at for replacing Quandre Diggs if Diggs does leave in free agency, which is looking a little less likely right now, but I still think it's very much on the table and needs to be considered. Now, while we're here, if we do decide to bring back Diggs and we view Blair as being more of a cornerback or even a strong safety, like a backup to Jamal Adams, then there are 2 more names I want to throw out there, but not really as potential starters. I want to bring them in as backups. Jaquiski Tartt, formerly of the Niners, going to be a free agent. And the Niners are not thrilled with him right now because he dropped the Super Bowl costing interception in the NFC title game. But he's a good player. If he shakes free this offseason, you could probably get him for close to veteran minimum. And the other guy would be Curtis Riley. I think he's kind of in the same boat. I remember when he was, I believe, a Giant. He spent last year on Tampa Bay. Didn't play, but I've always kind of liked Curtis Riley. I feel like he's at least a capable backup, and you could probably get him for veteran minimum. But those are guys who I think should just be on the radar in the event that you decide you want to pad your depth behind Diggs and Adams, and you, for some reason, maybe you don't like Josh Jones, maybe you don't like Nigel Warrior, you don't want to bring those guys back, then I would kick the tires on those guys at the least. But that's really it for free safety. Devin McCourty is my favorite, but that's dependent on him being willing to take a little less money to play on a team that has a chance to win next year, because I'm sure a team like Jacksonville is going to be willing to pay him more than we will just because of his experience, just because of his veteran leadership. So I don't know exactly. Some of these things are kind of hard to figure. I don't know what McCourty's going to get because he's old. Rodney McLeod, I don't know what he's going to get. But I think if you can get McCourty for $5 million, McLeod for $3.5 million, Gibson for $3.5 million, those are guys who could come in and be capable starters to replace Diggs. So that's what I'm looking at for free safety. And I'll say this. I really want to get a veteran free safety if we lose Diggs. I don't want a rookie. They make too many mistakes, and we can't afford free safety mistakes because free safety mistakes are a disaster for this defense in general. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below.